जुड़ेंगे क्या?
हाँ आएंगे सर।
वो कोई आए हैं उड़ीसा से, उनके
अभी
साथ
नए नए प्रॉवर्ब्स भी बन रहे हैं। मैं एक प्रॉवर्ब बना दिया हूँ, अंतर्जालम महारण्यम चित्त भ्रमण कारणम।
अंतर्जालम महारण्यम चित्त भ्रमण
विवेक
कारणम।
चूड़ामणि में शब्द जालम महारण्यम है, उस शब्द जालम को हम अंतर्जालम कर दिए तो
शास्त्री गारू करुणिंचंडी.
Yes, sir. We'll start. Namaste. Welcome all to the 6-day international webinar on yoga trends and research. So today is the valedictory session, and today we have this session is being presided over by Professor Madhusudan Penna, Vice Chancellor of Kavikalaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University, and the keynote speaker would be Dr. Nagaraj Paturi sir. So we'll be starting the session. I request Shri Amit Bhargav ji to kindly start this session with the Vedic recital.
जोगे योगे तावस्तारं वाजे वाजे हवामहे सखाय इन्द्रमूताये सामख्ये देव्या धिया संदक्षिणायो रुचक्षसा माम आयुः परमो खीर्मो आहन्तावपीरं विदेय तव देवी सन्तरेषे अग्ने परातापाते परातञ्चार्खयामि तच्छाकेयन्तन्मे राधीदमहं ज एवास्मि सोऽस्मि हरिः ओम मा।
Dhanyawad Acharya. I further request Professor Kalapani Agasti Madam to kindly deliver the welcome note address.
नमस्सभायै नमो नमः। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन यो अपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। Very good evening to all of you. On the occasion of International Yoga Day, under Silver Jubilee celebration of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, the Department of Yogic Science and Holistic Health, in collaboration with Indic Academy, organized a 6-day Yoga International webinar on the theme Yoga Current Trends and Research. In its valedictory program, I welcome today's keynote speaker, Professor Nagaraj Paturi sir, Honorable Director, Indic Academy. President of the session, Honorable Professor Madhusudan Penna sir, Vice Chancellor, Kavikulaguru Kalidas Sanskrit University. Honorable Registrar, Deans, Head of the Departments, teachers and students, I welcome you all. In this webinar, the recent trends and research perspective of yoga was focused, for which speakers invited were of national and international repute. Lecture delivered are the tradition of Natha Yoga, an integrated approach by Professor Madhusudan Penna, Yoga and Tourism by Subba Vidyanathan, Textual Studies and Research in Yoga, Its Importance and Scope by Dr. Jayaraman, Yoga Through the Lens of Positive Psychology by Dr. Ashish Pandey, Yoga, the Evidence Informed Mind-Body Medicine by Smita Madam, History and Archaeology of Yoga, Trends and Challenges by Vijay Sarde and Manish Maheshwari. Today we will listen Swara Yoga by Nagaraj Paturi sir. We have tried to justify our theme through these lectures delivered by scholars from every corner of India. The response and feedback received from attendees is very satisfactory. It is our honor that in this academic venture we have been associated with Indic Academy, a pioneer institution in the field of Oriental Studies. I convey my sincere gratitude to Professor Paturi sir for this association. I also convey my heartfelt gratitude to to all the guest speakers for their august presence and lectures. I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Madhusudan Penna sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, for his guidance and support. My special thanks to coordinators and participants. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. So before I request Paturi sir for his keynote address, I wish to give a very brief introduction, because if I have to introduce Paturi sir, it itself may take a lot of time, but I'll just give a very capsule of what he is about. So Dr. Nagaraj Paturi is a senior professor with 3 decades of university teaching and research experience, including fieldwork-based cultural research. He specializes in cultural studies, including folk culture studies, linguistics, including Sanskrit linguistics, literary studies, including myth studies. His PhD is in the application of Vedic parallels to the contemporary areas of anthropology, psychology, philosophy, and aesthetics, and a theory of their cross-section to classical Indian poetry in general and classical Telugu poetry in particular. He has designed a large number of courses on contemporary applications of Vedic sciences. He brings a tradition insiders fieldwork-based counter to the maligning views of Indian Jati system prevalent in contemporary academics and politics. Dr. Paturi is a director at Indic Academy, distinguished professor, curriculum designer, executive committee and member, Board of Studies at MIT School of Vedic Sciences, Pune, editor-in-chief for International Journal of Studies in Public Leadership, member of Board of Studies at several Indic knowledge systems teaching, researching in universities. He has earlier served as a senior professor of cultural studies, Flame School of Communication and Flame School of Liberal Education, and is a former visiting faculty, University of Chicago, US. He has more than 120 publications to his credit and has consulted for numerous culture research and theater and dance innovation projects. He has also worked on scores of creative writing works for classical dance, modern theater, and magazines, and several series of talks and other programs on radio and television channels. So I request Professor Paturi to kindly deliver the keynote address. So you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Acharya Srinivas Garu, for your kind words in introduction to me. I feel quite at home when I present myself at Kavikula Guru Kalidasa Sanskrit University. It is because Professor Srinivasa Varakedi, who used to lead this university earlier as Vice Chancellor, is the one who connected me to most of these activities in which I am now involved. And the present Vice Chancellor, Professor Madhusudan Penna, hails from my place, and we used to be very closely associated with each other. Actually, I remember my days of association with him when we were teaching together in a particular institute. And then it so happened in our conversations that we were talking about Upasana methods like Madhuvidya, etc. from Upanishads, sitting in the campus of University of Hyderabad. Professor Madhusudan Penna was expressing his amazement at the amount of Upasana methods that were being provided by Upanishads. And then I was not able to realize that he was going to take Yoga Sutras for his research. It ultimately so happened that he went into Yoga Sutras topic and he went into Abhinava Gupta, and gradually I'm able to see all his progress, and he turned out to be a great Sanskrit poet. And In fact, I come from a place which is in the borders of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, which is full of avadhutas and yogis. And we used to have conversations about these traditions, myself and Professor Madhusudan Penna. And it ultimately so happened that Professor Penna got into Gulab Rawji. And again, the same thing, Avadhuta tradition, yogi tradition, and his research on him, and his kavya on that, and he getting an award, a Central Sahitya Academy award, and everything. It has been happening the way I used to envisage a great future for such a promising scholar. So in both these ways, I'm quite at home at this place. And also my several visits to the university, we conducted a research methodology, Indic research methodology workshop at the university, and Dr. Jayaraman, who is sitting here among us now, presented his Tantra Yuktis research in that workshop, and there were wonderful Indic research methodology contributions there, and several other things. We have our association with the Law University there. We are doing law and justice program there. Lots of activities. So quite at home. Finally, coming to today's talk on Swara Yoga, I should anecdotally mention that when this conference was being planned, I was part of the planning group, and several topics were being suggested. And it so happened that the other friends in the planning group, they just said, "Sir, you keep talking about Swara Yoga most often. Why don't you talk on this?" And yeah, I keep talking about it, about Swara Yoga. We are talking on research now here. So what happens in the mind of a researcher generally is, whatever is not in the prominent discussion among academic circles, the researcher thinks should be brought into focus. So my obsession with Swara Yoga, my repeated mention of Swara Yoga was in those days when Swara Yoga was not receiving the deserving attention from the academic circles or general circles. But now I think that day is gone. Now a lot of attention has come to Swara Yoga. Lots of publications have come out. If you go to Amazon and just Google for Swara Yoga or Swarodaya, you have a host of books already published, both with English translations and Hindi translations, on particularly specifically a book called Shiva Swarodaya. But my journey into Swara Yoga, I have to mention, just to tell you how a researcher travels into these things. I used to wonder at some astrologers when we go to them with Prashna, what they call Prashna. There is a section of astrology called Prashna Paddhati. When we go with a Prashna to the astrologer, and the astrologer used to put his thumb at the nostrils, this, and then he goes this, and then he says, "This is your question. You have come with this question to me." Or you say, "Your question, you have already brought this question. I lost my, say, laptop. Will I be able to get it back?" Is your question. Again, and then he says, "No, it's not possible, or you're going to get it." Then I used to wonder, what is this? Why they are putting their thumb at the nostrils? And what is happening there? How is he getting that answer of yes or no? Where is it? Is it traveling? Sometimes the answer is that your laptop is traveling. You'll get it after some time and all that. I used to wonder about it. That was one stage. Then in Hyderabad, we had a neighbor scholar who used to do Kashi Vasa, Varanasi Vasa. Once, while coming back from Varanasi, he brought a young man with him called Rambabu. He was a good painter. He was showing all good paintings and all that. We were discussing about that. And then suddenly he brought some question about the breath, pranayama. And I gave some answer. Then he said, "Oh, you are my Guru Bhai." I said, "How can I be your Guru Bhai? You are just a stranger to me. I got introduced to you just now." Then he said, "I have a Guru in Varanasi. He is a Swara Yogi. He is, hold your heart, 345-year-old. He is my Guru." And he showed his photograph to me. And he has a system. Whenever there is a question, he doesn't answer the question directly. The question is answered by one of our Guru Bhais. Now, today you answered my question, so I'm considering you to be my Guru Bhai. Then I said, okay, maybe in my previous Janma, because 345 years means I would have taken many births. In one of my births, probably I was with this Guru. But Swara Yoga, this is an interesting word. I asked him, what is this all about? What is this Swara Yoga? And then he told me that it is all about breath control and all that. Then he showed me several videos and pictures in which his Guru, 345-year-old, I'm just putting it in quotes, whether 345-year-old or not, I'm not sure, but a very old looking person was able to stop 3 trucks, 3 big lorries, one connected behind the other. All the lorries were being driven forward, and with just one rope in his teeth, he was able to pull them backwards, and the trucks were stopping. In some place in Uttar Pradesh, this demonstration is being shown. He said this is not the strength of his teeth, it is the strength of his breath that he was doing. And he showed another picture in which Pahilmans were trying to move the thigh of this yogi. Several Pahilmans together were not able to move the feet or thigh of this yogi, who is at least looking some 90-year-old person, if not 345-year-old. Then this person told me, this is all Swara Yoga. These are all the abilities that you get out of Swara Yoga. And then I was talking to him, and he brought the examples of Angada, how Angada challenged Ravanasura to move his leg, and Ravanasura fails to move his leg, and he says, actually Angada was doing Swara Yoga at that time, he told me, and all that. So I thought, okay, this seems to be some wonderful technique. And then in my place in Hyderabad, on the footpath, I found a book in Telugu called Swara Yoga. And then on the book, the author's name was given, and there was the address of the yoga institute in which this yogi was teaching yoga. And I went through the book. It has several things, not just breath control. It has Vashikarana Vidya in it. It has got astrological aspects in it. It has got health aspects in it. It was covering many aspects in the book. Then one of those was this Nadi Vidya, Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi Vidya, Then it was a eureka for me. I said, oh, this is what these astrologers are doing when we go with Prashna. That is what they are using. They are using Swara Yoga. One confusion I have to remove to the audience at this stage. Recently, in our own platform, there was a yoga program announced, and someone was trying to teach the yoga of music, and they titled the program as Swara Yoga, thinking that swaras are musical aspects, so that yoga has to be called as Swara Yoga. And I called up the organizing person and said, sir, please be very careful. Please don't use this word Swara Yoga. It's a reserved word. That word is reserved for a particular yoga sadhana paddhati. So we cannot coin these words and say any music related yoga is Swara Yoga. So this is a caution I am trying to give to the audience also here. Let us not use the word Swara Yoga for anything related to music. This is not a music related aspect at all. It is all about breath. And when you go to any publication on Amazon also for Shiva Swarodaya or Swara Yoga also, all the titles have a caption that it is the yoga of breath and breath control and all that. Just to connect the word Swara with this breath, today when I was sharing this with people, I used the word breath rhythm. This is a yoga of breath rhythms. So this is all about it. So now, what is this Swara Yoga? Is it about your enormous physical power, like stopping the trucks with your teeth, or able to make your legs stand in such a way that even several pilemons cannot move it, become such strong person, or control your body in such a way? Or is it astrological, that it helps you to know the future or predict things or whatever? If you go to this book called Shiva Swarodaya, it has a combination of these things. It has combination of both. And then you generally, naturally try to find out whether this can be connected to Patanjali or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Then you might get ideas like, okay, even Yoga Sutras have got Vibhuti-pada. So this is also talking about certain Vibhutis and all that. No, but I don't think Patanjali's Yoga Sutras talk about Prashna Paddhati, or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras talk about Rutu, seasons, and the day, time of the day, and all that. That is talked about in the books on Swara Yoga. So I was trying to see if both these traditions, the Yoga Sutra tradition and Swara Yoga tradition, were connected with each other. I was not able to find it. Then I started realizing that this probably is an independent tradition. When you go to the book Shiva Swarodaya, as the name indicates, it is associated with Shiva. It starts with a conversation between Shiva and Parvati. But let us remember, because we are talking about research, that this template of books starting with a conversation between Shiva and Parvati is a very well established template. We have books on several topics in which the content is designed in such a way that it's a conversation between Shiva and Parvati. So we, as researchers, may not say the way all the books on Shiva Swarodaya are now published. They keep saying that, oh, this has come from Shiva and it was taught to Parvati. That is how the Swara Yoga has come into existence. From the teaching of Shiva to Parvati, Swara Yoga has come into existence. Is the way they explain it. But we are in a very ambivalent position in universities. We cannot tell universities that Shiva started it and Parvati heard it first and all that. So we can only say, for the purpose of a rational academic understanding, that it is in that template of many books which are composed in the form of a conversation between Shiva and Parvati. And what is the purpose with which the conversation starts? The first question put forward by Parvati to Shiva is, what is the purpose of this cosmos? What is the purpose of this Brahmanda? And then she goes on to ask, which is going to give the best welfare to people? So some such questions make the beginning, they become the icebreakers for the conversation. And the conversation goes on, and at some places, the book says Shiva has said this. Shiva is already teaching, Shiva is talking, and there is an expression called Shiva has already said this, which means that the template is in the beginning of the book, but expressions like Shiva has already said this have already been in the oral tradition. They have been existing and they got into this manuscript somehow. So when you go into the details of the book, from what we have to take it as being said by Shiva to Parvati, the book goes on to explain, for example, Nadis. It starts with explaining Nadis, Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi. And the other words for these two Nadis is Ida and Pingala. And there is this Sushumna Nadi. All these words are familiar to people dealing with other kinds of yoga, also Kundalini yoga or other kinds of yoga also. But the speciality of this book, Shiva Swarodaya, is that these words become central keywords for the whole book. They get repeated throughout the book. These Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi get completely repeated throughout the book. And towards the end of the book also, around 311 and 312 verse in the book, also the book repeatedly says one who merges the Surya Nadi in Chandra Nadi and Chandra Nadi in Surya Nadi lives Achandra Tarakam. He can live eternally. He gets eternal life. So the whole central key aspect of this Swarodaya book and what is called as Swara Yoga is all about these nadis here. From my own practice, what I see is that breath, the way you check it here at the nostrils, is a symptom of what is already happening inside. It is your left nostril breath or right nostril breath is not the actual Surya Nadi, not the actual Chandra Nadi, not the actual Ida or Pingala that you are talking about. They are only symptoms, indices of the actual Surya Nadi, actual Chandra Nadi that are working inside. To give an analogy, it is something like the smoke coming out of the chimney of a factory. The smoke coming out of the chimney of a factory is not the factory itself. It just tells you that the factory is working. And if there is a good technician, he might be able to say from the smoke coming out of the chimney, the speed of it, the angle of it, the color of it, and all that, what is happening inside the factory. This, looking at the external breath aspects from the nostrils and being able to know what is happening inside the system can be compared to that. That you are able to see from the direction of the left nostril exhalation and right nostril exhalation, the direction, the strength, and the intensity, the width, and all those features, you're able to see what is happening inside the system. So it is a kind of diagnostics. If it ends there, that's okay. So you're able to talk about something happening inside. But actually, Swara Yoga, in Swara Yoga, you are doing something. You are an agent. You are participating in it. So you're not just checking the symptoms the way the astrologer is checking at the nostrils. You're also trained through the book to control these, to make the Ida Nadi inside and the Pingala Nadi inside move from one side to the other, from Ida to Pingala and Pingala to Ida, and bring it to the center of Sushumna. These practices are taught here inside Swara Yoga. So that is where it is becoming Swara Yoga, not astrology. That is where it is becoming not diagnostics, it is becoming a controlling process. And then when you get inside the book, there is a huge section in Swarodaya which deals with the Panchabhutas, elements. And there is a huge discussion about how Panchabhutas combine with each other, they make the universe and all that. In this aspect, you have a similarity with Ayurvedic books in Swara Yoga. Because even in Ayurveda, there is a whole discussion of Panchabhutas, Tridoshas, how Tridoshas are connected to Panchabhutas and so on. So, and the connection with Vedic approach in this aspect is that there are several formulae of how one bhuta comes from the other bhuta. Whether Vayu creates Tejas or Tejas creates Vayu. There are multiple formulae. There is not a single formula of telling you which bhuta comes from which bhuta. Even this book has the same kind of approach like in the Veda mantras or some of the Aranyakas and so on. It also gives several formulae of how one bhuta is generated from the other. And through that, it explains how the nadis, Sushumna, Ida, Pingala, or Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, are connected to both the inner workings inside the human system and also the workings in the outer world, in the cosmos, in the universe. That is one thing which is very common with Taittiriya Upanishad kind of systems also. We have a tendency in psychology, Indic psychology disciplines and other places to immediately go to Taittiriya Upanishad and the Panchakosha system and talk about how human system has got panchakoshas, and immediately compare it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and those 5 needs and all that. But we generally tend to forget that the Upanishad is talking about Brahman, and it is saying Annam Brahmeti Vyajana. It is talking about a cosmic level. Actually, there it is talking about the cosmic Annam. It is talking, so because later in the later stage you go to Pranamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Manomaya Kosha, and because those words are associated with human system, Prana, Vijnana, and Manas, you generally have a tendency to immediately come to human body. But let us all remember that these koshas are being connected to Brahman actually. So it is the cosmic Pranamaya. It is the cosmic Vijnanamaya. It is the cosmic Manomaya. And it is the cosmic Anandamaya that we are talking about. It is a different matter that through sadhana, your Anandamaya gets connected to the Anandamaya of the universe. Because we are talking about Shiva and Shiva's Swarodaya, let us also see this beautiful shloka. Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya Vachikam Sarvavangmayam. There is a beautiful chamatkara in the 4th line, in the 4th quarter of the shloka. Tam Vande Satvikam Shivam. In the other 3 quarters, in the other 3 padas, you have Yasya, Shashti Vibhakti there. But here in the 4th quarter, you are not saying Yasya. Tam Vande Satvikam Shiva. So Shiva, Paramatman, Brahman is that Satvika aspect itself. Vaso Vaisaha, that is what we are getting from Taittiriya Upanishad. And you are getting to that Anandamaya Kosha, and that Ananda is the Paramatman. So that is the cosmic Ananda that you are talking about. So when you are talking about these systems like Panchabhuta system or Panchakosha system, you are connecting the human individual system here and the cosmic system together. Every time you are doing that together. So these Panchabhutas inside the human system and Panchabhutas of the cosmos are simultaneously being connected in the Shiva Swarodaya text. Whenever it is talking about a relation between the 3 nadis and the Panchabhutas, it is neither talking limited to the human body system nor talking only about the cosmic system. It is every time talking together. It is every time talking about that connection in both the Purushas. To speak from the Purusha Sukta analogy, you are able to see the Purusha form here, but in the cosmic aspect also that Purusha is there. Even that Purusha has got that Panchabhutatmaka Nirmana. So it is connecting those. Though I don't want to confuse the reader to say that these words like Panchakoshas or the Purusha or the Panchabhutas of the Purusha Sharira are used in the Swarodaya book. They don't use it. They simply go, that book goes simply just with Panchabhuta system only. And then you see connections with many other texts like Yoga Vasishta and Viveka Chudamani and other books where the bhutas and tanmatras are connected, and there is a panchikarana of these bhutas and their tanmatras, and finally everything merges into a single entity. All this process also is covered in the book Shiva Swarodaya. There is a kind of panchikarana, a different formula of panchikarana explained in this, and that every time gets again back connected to the 3 nadis. And using that model of connecting the Panchabhutas with the 3 nadis, the book takes you to the domain which Ayurveda handles. Ayurveda texts talk about the days, times of the day and seasons of the year, and connect various tridoshas with various seasons of the year and times of the day. So here this book very consciously avoids those tridosha kind of analysis. It doesn't deal with that at all, but every time brings it back to the nadis. So it tells you which nadi is active at which part of the day, which nadi is active during which season, and what health aspects, what human wellness aspects are symptomatized because of one nadi being active during that time of the day or during that season of the year, and so on. And then advises people to maintain nadis in a particular way, control the nadis in a particular way, so that the health effects of season or the time of the day can be handled. So this is where the book becomes a wellness book. It becomes a health related book also. But interestingly, it is dealing with all the health aspects only through breath aspects, breath control, how you can do this breath control. And nowadays, because of Isha Foundation and Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudevji, this Shanmukhi has become very popular. Towards the last verses of the book, Shiva Swarodaya talks about Shanmukhas. It is actually, because it talks about Shanmukhas, the etymology of the word Shanmukhi as a mudra becomes very clear. Actually, such books probably help you to know. And it uses the word mukhas to talk about the outlets. Actually, it almost says that the 6 places which are being used by various fingers of your hands are mouths. They are considered to be mouths. That is why they are called mukhas. And because you are controlling them, that is a shanmukhi. That is, all the 6 mouths are being controlled at the same time. So with such techniques of controlling the breath from the nostrils, let me again go back to the analogy. So you are going to the chimney and the smoke coming out of the chimney, and you are putting a hand there. And if you stop, actually there are many people who try to spoil your scooter or bike by working on your silencer. So put something inside the silencer or in the petrol tank, the whole system gets spoiled. So what appears to be the outlet of the system, that is the breath inside the nostrils, and the various other randhas that you have in the face, you have methods of controlling the happenings inside. And this book tells you those. And also it goes to the other nadis that are talked about in Ayurveda. Ayurveda talks about passages, channels, through which all these vayus pass. I see on the internet and many other English translations, translation of vata as wind. But if you closely understand Ayurveda books and see that many vata dosha diseases are actually neurological diseases, then you begin to realize that the nerve currents, both sensory and motor nerve currents, are also vata there. And the sensory and motor nerve currents have got inward and outward directions. And these inward and outward directions are given the names apāna and prāna. So this book also comes to that level and tells you, when you are able to manage prana and apana directions of these currents, up to the nerve currents, then all these inner happenings are resulting in the expressions in the form of Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi. So this is one very important aspect of these yogic systems. For example, we used to play with the old typewriters. There is a keyboard in that typewriter, but the the fonts inside the typewriter are at the end of the lever. So if you press the key for A, the typeface for A comes forward and types on the paper. Okay, let us try this. Let us go to typeface and pull it. What happens is the key moves. Because it is the same lever, this is connecting the typeface and the key. So if Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi are the results of something that is happening already, if you are controlling Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi, it can control that thing that is happening inside also. Just the way you pull the typeface and the key also moves. So you can also make this typeface called Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi move in a certain way, and then it controls the inner keys of the Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi. And this book Swarodaya helps you to understand that these are not just here, they are all over the human system, from top to toe. The nadis are already spread. So this very well connects to the Ayurvedic understanding of several thousands of nadis, 22,000 as per one book and 33,000 as per another book and 11 as per Kathopanishad. And in Kathopanishad itself, there is another Nadi which is connected to Hridaya, and this Hridaya Nadi is connected to the Brahmarandra and all that. So this reflects that this Nadi system very much against the contemporary historical claims that they have been borrowed from the Chinese systems. You have evidences of these being there in Narayana Upanishad, Kathopanishad, and many other Vedic sources, and much more detailed way of Srotas and Nadi kind of analysis in the Ayurveda. So this book seems to be very much aware of this multiple, several big number of nadis inside the system, and it connects the Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, Ida Pingala, and Sushumna systems to those inner breaths that are happening. And in Ayurveda, you have a Nadi Pariksha diagnostics, where the Nadi at the wrist is checked and you go into the symptoms. So this Swara Yoga system is very similar, but it is doing it with a Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi kind of diagnostics. And it does not only do that to the other person, to the client, to the patient, it does to the individual himself. Individual himself can check his nadis and know what is happening and can control that also. There is a very small section of Swarodaya later to this part which talks about food also. How food also influences the Ida Pingala systems, the Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, and Sushumna systems. But it talks about without food also. It talks about a stage where you don't talk about food at all. You are not taking any food, and still you can merge Surya Nadi and Chandra Nadi with each other. And then there is a shloka in which Shiva Swarodaya tells you that by not taking food and by keeping these breaths, these circulations of breaths all inside only for it uses the old measures of time and then says, if you can do this for 3 praharas, then your longevity gets extended by 3 praharas. And if you can do it regularly for more number of such 3 prahara units, your longevity goes on getting extended. So even such systems of longevity are explained. Actually, my encounter with the Swara Yoga Guru in Hyderabad was based on that only. Actually, he was talking about a particular mudra to extend longevity. And this Guru, in fact, lived for 105 years also. He, through his life itself, he showed how Swara Yoga can help extend the life of people. He used to go around giving talks to people how to use Swara Yoga, which mudra has to be used, how to control the breath, and all that. I'm not sure how many people actually used his system. They used to go to his yoga classes also. He was such a passionate person about Swara Yoga that he used to go around and give talks. But we generally get this doubt. These people tell you that they can extend the longevity. Can they extend their own longevity? But this Sitarama Rajugaru of Sitapal Mandi, Hyderabad, running the Swara Yoga Institute there, was a living example. He lived for 112 years by using these methods. So this talks about those aspects also. But the other aspects like Vashikarana, astrological predictions, and other things that are covered in the book, at least let us say they are part of a vibhuti or something like that. Or if you are interested in some purpose, in some mundane purpose from these books, then you probably would like to go into this. On archive.org, or if you go to Amazon also, the oldest book of Shiva Swarodaya that is published is by Ram Kumar Roy, in English translation of Shiva Swarodaya. It is a Prachya Prakashan Varanasi publication, and if you go down, it tells you Chaukamba Sanskrit series also. And then if you go to the preface, the book in the preface itself says, if you correctly use this book, you will get results. What it says is that it is talking about Prashna Paddhati only. It is talking about astrological predictions only. So the author seems to be more interested in the astrological aspects of Shiva Swarodaya. He is talking about when he says, please do whatever they say correctly, have faith. You must have faith in the system. Then you will definitely get the results. What are the results he is talking about? He is talking about astrological predicting abilities only. So that is one kind of interest that people might have in some aspects of yoga. And also Vashikarana, for example. What is the Vashikarana they are talking about? They are talking about the Stri Vashikarana. For example, in one of the shlokas, Shiva Swarodaya tells you that if you transfer your Chandra Nadi to the Surya Nadi of your sexual partner, or vice versa, if you are able to transfer your Chandra Nadi to the Surya Nadi, or Surya Nadi to the Chandra Nadi of your sexual partner, it does not say she comes under your control. It is just saying that she loves you. So probably this book is talking about some aspects of sexual relationship, how the neurological aspects of lovemaking are studied in books like Kama Sutra or Kokpoka or other books also. So probably this book is a compilation of several other ideas coming from several other shastras also. So some astrological part of it is borrowed from the astrological sections. The health related aspects are connected to the Ayurveda kind of Shastras. And these sex related aspects are connected to the Kama Sutra, Kama Shastra kind of aspects. So probably the author of Shiva Swarodaya is compiling all breath rhythm controlling related aspects, breath rhythm control related aspects collected from several different sources, and with the axis of breath rhythm control is compiling all of them together into a single comprehensive work. So this book seems to be, Shiva Swarodaya seems to be a very interesting research work. It seems to be a very interesting compilation of ideas drawn from several different sources. It can no way be compared to Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it cannot be seen the way you go from pada to pada in Yoga Sutras and in a very systematic way go up to Kaivalya and talk about Samadhi. No such thing is found in the book Shiva Swarodaya. At a certain stage, actually, there was a very interesting encounter we had on some scholarly forum. One member of the forum came up with an information that he has got a 4-chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And then he said, I have a copy of it also. He shared it. Then in the beginning, there were doubts whether such a book is possible or not. And finally, the copy was shared. Actually, it was shared by none other than Dr. P. Ramanujan, who was at that time working in CDAC Pune. I will read out the English text part that is found in the PDF file. There is this rare text. This rare text was given by Sri S.N. Tavaria of Mumbai, a yoga practitioner, in parenthesis, traditionally handed over by his guru, written in the year CE 1910 in Roman Diagnetics. And it was given to Dr. P. Ramanujan, working in 1992 at CDAC Pune. And then Dr. P. Ramanujan, because he was working on the scripts typography, Devanagari data entry was done by Dr. P. Ramanujan. And Dr. P. Ramanujan's note is that corrections are needed at place. And if you go to the beginning of the book, it is written Patanjala Yoga Sutrani. That is the misleading part. And you go and see there is no Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha as the first sutra. It starts with Athato Yujyate Kriyam Tadanushasanam Sarvasminnapi Atmanah Pratyavayeshu Vyavasayeshu Cha Yoga. These are first 3 sutras. Then Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha becomes the 4th sutra. And because you see the first sutra to be Athato Yujyate Kriyam, this is what you see throughout the book. Kriya is the word that gets repeated. And then I was very curious, what is this book all about? Then another keyword that gets repeated in the whole book is Shvasa Prashvasa. Then I thought, okay, probably this is a Swara Yoga book, but completely different from Shiva Swarodaya manuscript. This is an independently compiled one. Probably that 1910 date that is being mentioned in the PDF file is the date when these sutras were also composed by that guru. He himself was the composer of the sutras. But this is a very interesting way of dealing with Shvasa Prashvasa throughout. And it talks about a Kriya. And because probably the author is a very wonderful Shastra scholar, by the 4th chapter of the book, he is already connecting it to Upanishads. He is going to Taittiriya Upanishad. He is connecting it to Panchakoshas. He is doing all kinds of Vaidika Shastra Samanvaya with Swara Yoga. And you get this Panchami Vibhakti almost in every third sutra. The way all Shastric works are composed, you have the cause, the reason mentioned through Panchami Vibhakti. Most of the sutras, I'll give you some examples. It starts with, for example, Sanyukte, Rukter, Anavarodhat Virodha, Pratibhasamane Nirastet Vatmakalpanam Tadadhyasena Shakter Vruddhihi. Then Kaladi Nirodhena Tat Sanskaranam. Okay. Then again it comes back to Panchami Vibhakti and says Kaladi Nirodhena Tat Sanskaranam is the statement. Immediately it goes to Kaladeshayor Vrutyanavayava Nirodhat, and also it gives another reason. Karmanam Indriyanancha Pratyavayat, and another reason. Sarvat Adhare Tadatmane Vruttiranavasthanat. And then another statement. Anyasmadapi Kaladeshabhyam Samyak Visargaha. And then again reason. Sarvasya Tattva Pariharat. And it goes on like that. So there is every time there is a proposition, there is a statement made, and there is Panchami Vibhakti giving you the reason for why it is so. So the whole book seems to be a new compilation of Shvasa Prashvasa Yoga, Shvasa Prashvasa Kriya. It may be very hasty to say that it is a Swara Yoga book only, but it doesn't use the word Swara Yoga inside. But definitely, like Shiva Swarodaya, this book also is entirely focused on breath only, Shvasa Prashvasa only. And it talks about several Kriyas. And similar to Shiva Swarodaya, this book also connects the Ayurvedic aspects, Panchabhutas, and all these aspects. So similar to Shiva Swarodaya, this also seems to be highly very interesting compilation of ideas from several places. But it calls itself Patanjala Yoga Sutra. That is the misleading part. And actually in the manuscript, you see somewhere Patanchala also. That makes me suspect that the writer was a Tamilian also. And the Devanagari transliterating person probably did not even change the Chala into Jala also. But this is a very interesting manuscript. The Chaturadhyaya Patanjala Yoga Sutrani is a very interesting manuscript. And probably if we go in search, we might get more such manuscripts. Kupuswami Shastri Research Institute in Chennai came up with a proposal that they are working on Swara Yoga, but ultimately it is again the same Shiva Swarodaya book only, a different kind of a manuscript that they have. They want to work on that. And while working on that, Balasubramanianji and the researcher who is taken up for that, they are mentioning similarities of this book with some other books, some other manuscripts that they have, but that is not a critical edition because they have not collected all the different Shiva Swarodaya manuscripts, and they are not going for the version, manuscript of that. But now, when I go to Amazon, I am able to see several publications of this Shiva Swarodaya, some modified, some directly saying Shiva Swarodaya, some others saying Swara Yoga book and all that. But the content is the same. It's all based on the single text called Shiva Swarodaya. So now my own investigation, my own curiosity got cleared. From my childhood days when I was able to see these astrologers using their nostrils, ending up in this text called Shiva Swarodaya. So now I think I have given to the extent possible a bird's eye view of the text Shiva Swarodaya, author of which is not known, and a glimpse of the 4th chapter Patanjali Yoga Sutrani book. It's a different kind of a book. I have the manuscript, I have the PDF file with me. So because this whole conference is all about research, I urge upon people to take this book up for research of several different kinds and take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So if there are any questions or if you want to ask any questions, kindly raise your hand and I can, RK Yogi ji.
Sir, namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste.
For all the people who are sitting the other side of the net, in a way, my question is that, so pranayama and laya yoga or nadi controlling of nadi, they are two different practices, and nadi practice or Swara Yoga, in fact, Swara Yoga is more profounder practice than pranayama, if I have understood properly.
Yeah, actually, there are two different aspects of what we call pranayama. Pranayama, we are sitting with Jayaramanji and Professor Penna and others who are experts in Yoga Sutras. As far as Patanjali Yoga Sutras is concerned, pranayama is only a tool that comes in the whole travel of Patanjali sadhana.
Yeah.
But there are Hatha Yoga related texts which have taken pranayama to itself to a very meticulous and advanced level, very specialized sadhana level. So those aspects of pranayama, Hamsa sadhana, Soham sadhana, Ajapa sadhana, and Sukshma pranayama, Sudarshana Kriya, all these other aspects of pranayama that are dealt with in different texts of Hatha Yoga and different practices of Hatha Yoga, they also are a totally different area, which are not dealt with in this book, Shiva Swarodaya. Though Shiva Swarodaya brings in pranayama and takes the only the Nadi aspects of sadhana, how to get to a control of both cosmic and the Brahmanda and Pindanda levels. It doesn't use these words, I'm just using it from my side. The book doesn't use them. But both at the Brahmanda and Pindanda levels, how to control the system using the Nadis is a very different system that Swarodaya is developing than the Hatha Yoga specialized analysis of pranayama and advanced aspects of pranayama.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Jayaramanji, you wanted to say something?
No, sir. I just wanted to add that I was just thus far I had focused only on basically the darshanik aspect of pranayama, means whichever has been mentioned in the Yoga Sutras and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and this was entirely new for me. And as I was listening to your talk, I was also reading up about it parallelly. As I was, so then I could understand that there is another system of this is another approach to the breathing where I was just reading from another source that it says that naturally the prana, we normally observe that we inhale and exhale, whereas this prana has a lot of role, or the breath that we say has a lot of role in taking us to various states of awareness. So sometimes we are in the waking state, then we go to the dream, and then to the deep sleep, we wake up. So all these activities are there, and the prana has a role, or the pattern of the prana flow shifts unknowingly, involuntarily it shifts and facilitates the movement from one state of awareness to the next state of awareness. This happens involuntarily. Observing this pattern very deeply, and then getting hold of this pattern and making it happen voluntarily at that level, which is not spoken as any technique. To such level we have to observe the breath pattern and tune ourselves with that. As we tune ourselves with that, as you mentioned, the connect with the cosmos also will happen, so that we can attune. So it is at that level, unlike the specific technique oriented practice of yoga in Hatha Yoga Pradipika or in the pranayama component of Ashtanga Yoga, this seems to be kind of the natural changes in breath pattern. Harnessing that is more connected with Swara Yoga, as I understand from this observation. And there is a tradition called Vasi Yogam in Tamil. In Tamil Siddha tradition, the self-same Swara Yoga is called as Vasi Yogam, where pranayama is also a component to calm the mind down, so that we are able to perceive the shift in the patterns of the movement of breath in the various nadis. So it means this can be a kind of a classification or kind of understanding how the pranayama may be different from this Swara Yoga or Vasi Yogam, as it is called in Tamil Siddha Yoga tradition, which is mentioned in Tirumular Tirumandiram itself.
Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me, one more question. Now Kriya Yoga is present all over. In fact, every yoga has become a marketplace like thing. So Pranayama and Kriya Yoga, they are two different things. One has to, should we understand that way? Or Kriya Yoga itself is one kind of a pranayama?
That is a different topic for a different day, Yogiji, because actually nowadays, as you rightly said, because of the market, these words like Kriya Yoga have got multiple meanings. There are all kinds of Kriya Yoga. For some people, Sahaja Yoga is Kriya Yoga. Some people, Hatha Yoga itself, because it talks about Kriyas, it is called Kriya Yoga. And for some other people, breath-related activities are also Kriya Yoga. Pranayama-related activities are also Kriya Yoga. And somebody gets surprised at his own achievement in pranayama and becomes suddenly a Baba and starts calling it Kriya Yoga. So all kinds of Kriya Yoga have come into existence. So let us actually take it up for a different day. What actually traditionally from the Gurus was called Kriya Yoga. As I was mentioning, this book, Chaturadhyaya Patanjali Yoga Sutrani book that I have, also starts with Kriya Yoga. So what is that Kriya and in what way is it different from Kriya Yoga? We have to discuss in a different way. Okay, yeah. So.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question by Sriharsha.
Sriharsha ji?
Sriharsha ji? Okay.
Raised your hand, Sriharsha ji. Sriharsha Tithala.
I don't see. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So we'll move ahead, sir. So I request Professor Madhusudan Penna sir to kindly deliver the presidential address.
Thank you, Shastriji. So thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening and very informative Swara Yoga. I just went back to those days in which we used to sit in the Golden Threshold, that Sarojini Devi, that building, and you used to enlighten me with so many things. Actually, I know that your family is a blessed family because you yourself are a yogi, and I am very fortunate that I have received some useful knowledge from father also. I am really indebted to this family, and you are like my eldest brother who have blessed me all these years, and now that means in the empirical sense I'm progressing. and you all know that the clear sense. I really thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart. And our guest Jayaraman sir is also there, and all the other participants. They are also very good yogins, though they don't speak much. They are also yogins, and I offer my salutations to the other yogins who are silent. Mauna yogins are also there. And whatever sir has said, this is really great observation. It started with his personal experience and his personal encounter with a person who was a student of a 345-year-old yogi. And sir told us that he, for the first time, heard about this, the Swara Yoga, and later he studied that. And we know from his discourse that the Swara Yoga is a really great science that deals with the passage of vital breath and its channelizing. It's actually basically yoga itself is channelizing the vital breath in our body so that we can connect ourselves with the universal energy. So this is very interesting topic, sir. And I remember in my childhood also in our house, there was a Swara Shastra, a small Telugu pustak. Telugu book was there. I used to just read. Later, Shivananda Murthy sir, he also published one Shiva Swarodaya. And the Telugu text was sent by one foreigner to me. She said, "You know Telugu, please translate this." Then I told her, it's actually not a single text. Sadashivendra Saraswati. It actually, it is his discourse on that particular topic, and so many topics are mixed up there. So I told her it's not a single text. I cannot translate. So, but I studied that also. And Narayan Tirtha also speaks of this Swara. But when it comes to Patanjali Maharshi talking about that, we understand from the Patanjali Yoga Sutra that he doesn't make any explicit reference to the Nadi and Swara except the Kantakupa, the Nabhi Chakra, few, but there is no such development in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. As you said, Patanjali Yoga Shastra, it has a different purpose, and the Swara Shastra has a different purpose. When he talks about Kaivalya, the Swara Shastra doesn't talk about that. Basically, it is connecting the Pinda with the Brahmanda. So that is the basic difference. And when it comes to Pranayama and Swara Yoga, we can understand it very easily that it is like the relation between astronomy and astrology. One is a pure science and other is its application. Similarly, when Patanjali Maharshi talks about the Pranayama, he says, this is the basic thing you should learn. Tasmin Sati, Shwasa Prashwasayoho, Gati Vichedaha, he has said. Then he talked about the other varieties like Chaturtha Pranayamaha, etc. This much. And then in the third pada, he discusses the effects of that, like Baleshu Hasti Baladini. Though it is Sanyama, we understand. Sir talked about that great yogi. He looked like a 90-year-old man, but many pahalwans, they could not move his feet. Angada also demonstrated that, etc. And even in Nanded, even today, in Nanded and other areas, there are some yogi who demonstrate such great feats. Very typically, this pranayama that gives lot of strength to the body if it is rightly practiced. And Baleshu Hasti Baladini is one way of that. That is physical strength. And very, very typically, some of the martial artists in Korea, Japan, China, and other areas, even today they demonstrate the strength of that. They are not aware that it is some pranayama talked about in the Yoga Shastra, but they demonstrate that. In one of the videos, you can search on the YouTube also, that a person just puts some pin in his mouth and just he spits, and that goes, pierces a mirror, glass, and it actually again pierces a balloon. So you can see that piercing through, and it is very powerful thing. And another one, he cuts bullet into two. It's actually slice. So such great power they possess. They don't know that it is effect of yoga. So that pranayama Patanjali Maharshi has recommended. He said, this is my pranayama that you can practice as Anga to my yoga. So this Angi is basically Nirbija Samadhi, and everything is only auxiliary to that. So if you really want that great experience, then you must have control on your breath. And in order to get control on your breath, you should have a very balanced breath pattern. And for that, you should have a sound body, healthy body. For that, you practice Shatkarma first, then Asana, then Pranayama, then Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Through that, you can achieve Sanyama. Then he said, these are the physical, psychic, and other intellectual powers you will get in your this life. So that is the promise made by Patanjali Maharshi. So when we compare that, he talks about pranayama, but he never talks about the nadi like Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, Kundalini, and all the other. While the Upanishads talk about them, like Shatamcha Eka Hridaya Senadyaha, etc. The Upanishad says that there are 101 nadi from the Hridaya, but they are all Vishwam Vyutkramatitabhyaha. So the Upanishad says they are all peripheral, and when a person leaves his body, departs the body through them, then he will have to come back. That is, rebirth is assured. But Madhyanadi is there. That is the Sushumna. So if a person can really drive his force into that, that Kundalini will reach the top of that is Sahasrara. And in the Jiva Brahmaikya Raja Yoga Saramrita also, it is very clearly explained the entire process, how it reaches the top. And Jnaneshwar Maharaj also has made clear in his 6th chapter of Jnaneshwari. So on one side, we have the pranayama. It deals basically with the control, channelizing of the breath. But what happens, how to do that, and for the worldly purposes, how to make use of that, that is subject matter of the Swara Yoga we find. So when you are taking bath, when you are eating, when you are indulging in auspicious activities or inauspicious activities, what are you supposed to do? Through which nostril the air should flow? And for that, the ancient seers used to carry the danda so that they can press under their the kak, we say. So press under this, and thus the air passage will be shifted. And there was another technique, that's sitting, like Gajanan Maharaj and others, even Narasimha Saraswati, they sit in a particular position, and that posture is also conducive to the flow of that particular nadi. This is also a great secret, knowing which the yogi can balance himself in changing seasons also. Narayan Tirtha makes a very clear mention of this in his commentaries. So this was the application of pranayama, the Swara Yoga. And in Shiva Samhita also we find a chapter talking about this, the flow of breath through the nadi and the effect of that. So they also talk about that. And another thing, very typically it is connected with the Arishta. Arishtebhyova. The Patanjali Yoga Sutra says very clearly that some indications are there. These indications, through these indications, you can know about your final moment in life. That means your last moment. So those indications are given from Puranas and other also, we can get the information. But there, your breath will tell you how long you are going to live. So this is also explained. And this is the sacred knowledge that Indians had got and recorded, that out of their experience they had got convinced that this is really a science, and therefore it was recorded in Sanskrit. And as Sir said, the modern researchers should make a thorough study of this subject also. They may get new ideas, insights, but I tell you that God has a different design for you. So you need not go after another person, because God has a design for each individual he has created. So therefore, a person may become great yogi, another person may become great scholar, another person may become great pahalwan, another person may become great dancer, a musician, somebody. But this is the design that the God energy has kept for us. So you go ahead with your study of the all the texts that Sir has quoted, go through them, make notes, and just contemplate on that, so that you may get new insights in that and you may work on that. This is a very new subject, and Sir has given very good exposition of this, so that the young researchers may find a way into this research. Now, today is the last day of our international webinar, and we are thankful to all the learned scholars who have contributed to the success of this international webinar, and especially Professor Paturi sir. He has very generously accepted, said, okay, you go ahead. And we are really blessed, sir, because you are with us. So that is your word, and we are really lucky. And we requested all the scholars to deliver lectures, and they kindly accepted and delivered. And see, Pashyatameva asmakam dinani gatani. So just yesterday we started, it appears like that, and today is the concluding day. And this is really a great feast for all of us, the intellectuals and true yogins, that we get a kind of refreshness in once again in this. So we need to get this refreshment, because yoga, we practice, we listen to many people, but when really people working on that, people doing yoga, people living yoga, when they are there, so naturally the benefit will be more. And sir reminded me of those days. I remember still, sir, with all reverence and with all love, I remember those days when you made this clay into a very good toy or statue, whatever you may call. But really, I was so eager to know. I had all inquisitiveness, and I used to go to sir's residence also, and I used to receive this knowledge directly from the most accomplished persons. So I remember Nagaraj sir encouraging me and giving me some tips, talking about my pronunciation, all that. And we used to walk to the Golden Threshold, that Central University, and we used to sit there for hours together. And he used to tell me about the Upanishadic Vidyas and the way of connecting with the cosmic energy. So see, this is actually predestined by the God energy, that a person will enter into your life. Guru Rupayaha, Shiva Sutra says, like that a person will enter into your life, he will mold, and you have your own path to tread on. So later, very luckily, immediately after that, I was introduced to Mahesh Yogi. I got initiated into that. I was there in the Netherlands, and really very fortunate that I lived with this, with that Jivan Mukta. I listened to him with all rapt attention, because John Hegelin used to come there and discuss about the astrophysics, and really great moments in life. So whatever little I could get from these teachers, really, I thank all these divine souls who have really transformed this into a very purposeful life. And some questions were there, like difference between pranayama and Swara Yoga. And now through this lecture only, you must have understood that if pranayama is the theory part of that, then Swara Yoga will be the application part of that, where directly they have said, if prana flows through this will be the result. If prana flows through this nostril, this will be the result. So this kind of treatment is not found in Patanjali, this one. And some people were asking about Nada Yoga, Laya Yoga, etc. I tell you that though Patanjali Maharishi has indirectly mentioned Laya Yoga in one of his sutra, Kshina-vrutter Abhijada Seva Manehe Grahitru Grahana Grasheshu Tatstata Danjanata Samapattihi. This is a very subtle reference to Laya Yoga, in which it is stated that the mind gets completely absorbed in that. So that Tatstha and Tadanjanata both are obtained through that particular Samprajnata. So they say it is Samprajnata matured state. That is Laya Yoga, some of the commentators explain. Nada Yoga is entirely different. This Swara Yoga is actually, if you want to really connect this with that, you may find some inner connections also. But Sir was telling that he was telling about some great yogins like Paramahamsa Yogananda, and other yogins also. In this connection, I remember that Paramahamsa Yogananda also talks about the great achievements of yogins. He says they can travel through photons also. That means they can travel through light, he says. And in his autobiography of Yogi, he mentions that it is unbelievable to ordinary people that you can carry your body to other place and not being visible to others, but yogins can achieve that. So, and his system is known as Kriya Yoga. Sir was telling that this word is different, it has different meanings. See, some people say Hatha Yoga practices are also Kriya Yoga. Some people say the effects of pranayama are Kriya Yoga. Some people say other. But Patanjali Maharshi says very simply, Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranadhanam Kriya Yoga. That is Kriyaiva Yoga. And that is Upalakshanam, he says, the Bhashyakar and the commentators. So that Kriya is basically a kind of preparatory activity to purify your body, mind, and speech. That is Kriya Yoga in Patanjali's this thing. And the purpose of Kriya Yoga there is very clear, that Samadhi Bhavanartha Kleshatanu Karanarthascha. That means when you practice few yoga practices, your body, mind, and speech get purified. This is your preparation for the next level of yoga. So that that means your mind, because here drashta, drushimatraha. So pratyanupashyaha. So therefore there is no other drashta, Chaitanya only, but they differently explain that. So that particular drashta, once you can experience the higher level, that is samadhi first. And when samadhi matures into nirbija, then that means the jiva is now eligible for next dharma megha and the kaivalya. So that passage is very clearly mentioned. The entire path towards kaivalya is beautifully explained in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also. Now, when some particular theory is made, automatically its application part comes in picture. So when E is equal to mc square was thought by Einstein, later its application in other sciences. So naturally theory and application both have their own importance. Similarly, when Patanjali was talking about the pranayama as one component of his yoga, many people practiced and they had their own experiences and they wanted to share. So naturally the application part came. And Swarodaya, though they claim that it was the oldest and most ancient before the Veda also they say, but the available text is not that old, and the language is also not that old, and we have all evidence to believe that it was a later addition, especially because of the influence of Tantra and Nada Sampradaya also. So that Swara Shastra, Swarodaya may not be very popular today, but it is being studied by some of the yoga teachers, students, researchers. Some of the traditional scholars also know about that, and some of them practice also. And very typically Ayurveda, Jyotisha, they also practice Swara. Sir was telling that they close 1 and 2 and say your laptop is flying or it is traveling or it may be found or not found. So very typical. It is really an unknown science. But modern researchers have all chances to explore these untouched areas of research. I thank all the dignitaries, all the great scholars, and the very patient our Shastri Garu, Srinivas Garu, who has yet to prepare his food, I think. So, so I thank Midhilesh sir also, and the head of the department, Kalapini madam. I thank her, and on behalf of the university, I wish a very great International Yoga Day for all the participants. And you embrace yoga, the God energy will embrace you, and you will have all pleasure on the earth. You need not leave body to get heaven also. The heaven will be here. You can experience that. Moksho nama naivanyaha swarupa pradhanam hitat. They say, muktir hitva anedha bhavam swarupena vyavastitihi. The Bhagavatam also says. So you will have that here with these best wishes. I conclude here, and namaskaram to all the scholars and sadhaka. Namaste.
Thank you very much, sir. As this is the valedictory session, applying the Sthali Pulaka Nyaya, we wish to just take two experiences, from two participants. So first I would request Gaurav Kadlag to kindly share his experience of the 6-day webinar.
Thank you, Srinivas sir. Due to the power failure at my place, I am not able to turn on the. But thank you, first of all, for giving me an opportunity to share my feedback for this conference. I would like to share with you that this is the fourth conference which has been organized by the Indica Yoga and collaboratively with the Kalidas Sanskrit University. So the first was research methodology, second was the Tantra Yukti, and third was by Indica Yoga and this is. So this is another wonderful experience, joining this seminar, or we can say that the event related to the research in yoga. So I must say that this 6-year webinar is completely packed with the different knowledge or the different facets of the yoga research. Like in the first day we have the integrated approach of the Natha by Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Penna, and after that the yoga and human consciousness or the quantum consciousness, and the empirical part of the yoga research has also been given by Smita madam. And so and yoga tourism, and then again the textual research by Dr. Jayaraman sir, and then again the independent researchers shared their wonderful research findings about the archaeological part of the yoga, and again some unpublished manuscripts in yoga. So I would like to share my experience and what I learned through these 6 days. That today, what even I spent a few years in the field of yoga research, that every day I'm getting this the new knowledge about the unexplored part of the yoga research from these eminent personalities, these researchers. And through these 6 days I got to know very the unexplored part, and which has not been explored yet. So even from before few days I only knew about the some unexplored text like Dharmaputrika or Brahma Yamal text, or but from this seminar I got to know about the new text, that is the Viveka Darpan from the Marathi, and I was completely fascinated, or fascinated by the archaeological findings of these researchers. Again, today Professor Paturi sir's the lecture on the Swara Yoga, that is an unexpected gift for me, because from few years I have been trying to understand the Shiva Swara that I got from archives.org. So these 6 days have been very packed of the knowledge and the very different aspects of the yoga research. And I think that what we have known until now, or particularly my case, that this is the only a tip of iceberg that we know about the yoga. And through this yoga research, we will be able to dig out more and more knowledge. And another thing I learned from this webinar, that it is rightly said by the Kalidas that Purana Mityeva na Sadhu Sarvam. So we also verify the knowledge which is being it is our that Professor Penna sir he rightly said that through the modern research we must verify this knowledge, and we must not give the false conclusion about what our understanding about the yoga is. So as a part of the fraternity of yoga research, I really thank you that the Kalidas Sanskrit University and the Indica Yoga organized such a wonderful webinar, and gave us an opportunity to learn the new things at our home itself without going anywhere. So, and I want to congratulate also the organizers, that this is from my side. This has been a successful webinar, and it is a very wonderful gift for the 21st June yoga program. So thank you all, and I end my few words here.
Thank you very much. And I would request Anjor Dikshit to kindly summarize within not more than 3 to 5 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you, Srinivasji. I hope my voice is audible clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity to provide my feedback. Gauravji has covered most of the points. I guess the participants, all of us would have wanted to say. So I would rather keep my speech more of a gratitude one. So here I would like to express my gratitude towards first the organizing teams from KKSU and Indic Academy for curating the subjects, the research subjects and the topics, and inviting the experts to enrich the 6-day international webinar. And I'm eternally grateful to the expert speakers for the enlightenment on the subjects, for sharing their magnificent work, the extensive research that they have done, the diverse experiences they have had in this journey with all of us, and also for clarifying our doubts and answering our questions. I'm confident that this endeavor will mark the beginning of many research journeys for curious minds. Lastly, I would also like to thank all the participants for their dedication and for making the session interactive by questions and discussions, which gave all of us newer perspectives, which we had previously not thought of. Then I believe this experience has once more made me realize that there is a beauty in the thoughts of those who explore and study Indic knowledge systems. They all want others to grow with them, with their research, with their work. So this I truly believe is the essence of the culture that we all come from, that we all belong to. And hence I'm eternally grateful to everyone contributing in making this event a success and making it truly a yogic experience, since it is connected to yoga and of course living it to its essence. And then I would end with it like, Ano Bhadra Pratvoyantu Vishwata. May noble thoughts come to us from all directions. Thank you so much for the wonderful experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Further, I request Dr. Jayaraman ji for his conclusive remarks.
Namaste, Srinivas ji. My respects to Professor Madhusudan Penna ji. He himself is a great scholar in yoga, Yoga Shastra, Sankhya Shastra, and many other Shastra. He is a polymath in various subjects, and his special focus, interest lies in Yoga Shastra. I also had the great fortune in interacting with Professor Penna ji on various occasions and learning a lot of things from him in my interactions. And he has visualized or kind of the thought of this particular theme for this conference. And thanks also to Professor Nagaraj ji for from our Indica organization side giving the go ahead for the collaboration. And and his presence, guidance also were very important in giving this particular shape to this workshop or this international workshop, to share my personal experience in the act of bringing together, putting together this international webinar. One thing is we were able to bring in diverse fields, be it yoga, manuscriptology, archaeology, mind-body medicine. So various perspectives in yoga we could bring together. It reminded me of my own humble effort way back in 2014-15, where I tried to bring in a conference called Dimensions of Yoga. Yoga is such a field that it is not a particular, it has only one dimension. No, it has multiple dimensions. So it is, there is a small book also we have published while I was working in Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram called Dimensions of Yoga, where various dimensions of yoga, and especially in the field of yoga, it would be not very appropriate to close the mind to just one particular perspective, because it is a field of so many millennia, and it is spread across the wide geography also, and so many perspectives, and the contemporary, the current day life also has brought in so many other perspectives. Hence, it's a many splendid discipline with multiple dimensions. So more than in any field, especially in yoga, we need to be absolutely open-minded, to be open to archaeology, philosophy, Samskrita, regional languages. Every other discipline has its own implications and connections with yoga. And but we see that sometimes there seems to be a division in the yoga field where only scientific publications of yoga or scientific conferences happen. Of course, they should happen. And again, the textual conferences, textual research or textual study conferences. So there seems to be a normal when we see that these two divisions, they go apart. The textual philosophical side and also the scientific side, they seem to have taken a different track in the current day scenario as we see. But it's very important that these disciplines, not only the textual philosophical side, the empirical side should also come together, and also the humanities sides with, of course, so many other fields could be added, psychology, and then so many such other fields, even journalism and such other fields could be added to make it really multi-dimensional and implications of yoga in each and every dimension. So while those philosophy, textual studies, specific conferences should happen, scientific, empirical study related conferences on yoga should happen. Such open conferences where all these disciplines come together, and people from the various walks of life who have been impacted by yoga, belonging to various disciplines, they have their idea. So such opportunities are rare, but Kavikula Guru Kalidas Samskrita University has taken the lead in bringing or in really opening up the yoga scene and bringing all scholars, researchers, students, all fields to come together and see how yoga impacts their own respective field. Actually, for students and PhD scholars, I think this would have been a very useful 6-day webinar where various perspectives, it's not yoga is only textual or only empiric. So all these various dimensions would have certainly added so many avenues of possible research. See, when so many disciplines, discussions about so many disciplines, implications of so many disciplines on yoga happens, only then cross-fertilization. Because as mentioned in the beginning of the conference, multidisciplinary research, multidisciplinary approach to research can happen only when multiple disciplines or perspectives from multiple disciplines, they come together and discuss. And such platforms should happen, means such platform should be created where just like this webinar, when we have various perspectives, more and more opportunity, or this should become an annual affair, an annual activity where every other discipline tries to participate and then allows in this cross-fertilization of thoughts and widens the scope of research in yoga, and thereby making the reach of yoga farther and farther to touch lives in all aspects, in all realms of human existence. So in that sense, this has been a very good conference, very good beginning. I hope that every year we seek the blessings of the elders here, like Professor Pennaji, Professor Nagaraj Paturiji, Kalapini Agastiji, so that we are encouraged to do such conferences where multiple disciplines are accommodated, and this becomes an annual activity. So I thank the university for co-opting Indic academic institutions side. I would thank the university for joining hands and working on this project. It has been very enriching on my personal behalf also. I thank you all. And it was a pleasure working with Srinivas Jammal Madkaji. So it was a wonderful, smooth, very systematic, very well planned, and the communications were flawless from Srinivas ji and the university side. So which made this a very, very well run, well organized webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So before concluding the session, I would just go ahead with the formal vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank our inspiration source, Professor Madhusudan Penna, Vice Chancellor of Kavikula Guru Kalidas Sanskrit University, who has been the driving force and the main person behind this webinar. And further, I would thank Dr. Nagaraj Paturi sir for being the key person in the association with Indic Academy and guiding us with various topics and suggesting with various speakers. And then I thank Dr. Jayaraman ji for his wonderful coordination. I mean, I really enjoyed working with Jayaraman sir in bringing many different speakers. And I thank our head of the department, Professor Kalapini Agasti, who is the convener of this webinar, for supporting us in whichever way possible. And I thank Shri Mithilesh Bhakre sir, who is also one of the coordinators and who has been the backbone and the technical support. He has provided the technical support for the 6 days webinar. So I thank him on behalf of the university. And I thank our registrar, deans, heads of departments, and our other teaching and non-teaching staff who have directly or indirectly have been helping us in conducting these kind of sessions and these kind of activities by our university. And so I thank one and all, and thank Ishvara for letting us conduct this kind of an event without any vignas. So by thanking all of one and all, and even the participants without whom this webinar could not be a success, and our research scholars and our students who have patiently waited and who have patiently and very actively participated in all these sessions. So I thank one and all for the success of this event. And by the recital of yes.
One more personality should be mentioned here. Shri Harikiran Vadlamani ji.
Yes, definitely.
Founder of
Harikiran Vadlamani ji, who is the founder of the
he is the driving
academy,
force
and
behind all the activities and the initiatives in bringing home the experience, Indic knowledge, and whichever activity is taken up with encouragement.
I don't think Vadlamani sir rejects any proposal that comes to his presence, I suppose. So I haven't heard till now any proposal that has been rejected by Harikiran ji. And definitely we thank Harikiran Vadlamani ji for encouraging us with many more opportunities. So I thank one and all, and thank you. And we'll be concluding with the recital of the Shanti Mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukhabhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.